Hello, fifth grade. None of you got to go through this with me last year, but I make videos. Usually I only do one a week, so this is your video for the Monday and Tuesday of the first week of LMS. This year I'll be doing all my videos at school, so you'll get to see the backwards clock and backwards books of the Bible poster while I'm videoing. We talked about this a little bit before we left on Friday. There is some trust built into LMS, trust that you're doing the work you're supposed to be doing. Starting with simple solutions. I'm trusting that you're actually doing the simple solutions before you check them. I'm trusting that you actually do the reading homework when I assign you reading homework. That's the way you learn, is by doing the simple solutions and making mistakes and then checking them and realizing, oh, I made that mistake, and fixing it and learning from it. That's how you learn, is by reading through the book. When we left on Friday, we didn't read anything from the book Friday. We just read from my book that I have on Egypt. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. I think it's got some interesting stuff, especially about how they actually do the mummies and about all the different gods and all that kind of stuff. So today we're back to actually reading from the book. Little backtracking. The first king of the by the way, book should be out. First king was of the united Egypt was Menes. He was the Mene who united the upper and the lower Egypt. Remember, upper and lower Egypt are backwards of what you would think, though it would actually be lower Egypt, upper Egypt. Lower would be on top because the Nile flows backwards, so what you would think. Nile flows from mountains down here down to the Mediterranean Sea, which when you're looking at a map, makes it seem like it's flowing backwards. It's flowing from south to north. Sorry, guys. I'm making all my videos in a row. Your video 5, my ability to speak is getting bad. Anyway, page 111, talking about dynasties. Egypt was made up of kingdoms. It doesn't really talk about it in this book, but Egypt was made up of 3 different dynasties. 3 different kingdoms. And those kingdoms were made up of dynasties. And the kingdom would change when the dynasty would change, basically. Remember, a dynasty is when grandfather is Pharaoh, then his son is Pharaoh, then that son is Pharaoh, then that son is Pharaoh, and it just keeps going until you get a new person in charge, and then that becomes a new line of pharaohs. I'm having technical issues over here. Then we talked about how if you're looking at a social hierarchy, which you'll have that next year, but the social hierarchy is that pyramid, and at the top, the most important dude in Egypt would be the pharaoh, and the dude right under him would be the vizier. And the most famous vizier is Joseph, who was... Pretty sure you have already talked about him in Bible with Miss Stevenson, that, he started out as a Hebrew, the favorite son of his dad, Jacob. Then brothers sell him into slavery. Then he ends up in prison for something that he didn't do. Then he's able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, and he ends up second in command in Egypt. And then from there, the social hierarchy would keep going on down. Page 112, we read about the shadoof and talked about how I just love saying that word shadoof. It seems like a fun word to say. But that was their irrigation system that they came up with. As we talked about, the Nile was hugely important to the Egyptians. Then from there, talking about the shadoof, we talked about mummies, which, like I said, we talked about that more in depth in that other book I read. Talked about pyramids. Most famous and largest of the pyramids still standing today is the Great Pyramid. It's located in the modern city of Cairo. It was built for King Khufu. The other name is just fun to say, King Khufu. Anyway, he's the dude who came up with the Great Pyramid. Also notice, depending on what you're talking about, depends on whether the king is called a king or a pharaoh. At certain points in Egyptian history, they were called pharaohs. At other points, they're called kings. Same diff. Head honcho. And we talked a lot about how amazing these temples are because how amazing these pyramids would be because they're massive and they would have been doing it all by hand. Page 113. After many of the pyramids were built, the Egyptians began building temples. Probably the most beautiful and famous temple belonged to Queen Hatshepsut. She was ancient Egypt's only woman pharaoh. And remember, I said that's easy to remember because just think of like the fancy derby hats. Hatshepsut, a chick putting a fancy derby hat on. That's the first female pharaoh, Hatshepsut. And yeah, probably I'm totally butchering the pronunciation of the chick's name, but hey, it makes it easier to remember. Her temple was built to blend in with the cliffs behind it. Pharaohs had their great accomplishments written on the walls of their temples. Then I don't think we made it to the Great Sphinx. Hot, dry Egyptian sand drifts easily with each breeze that blows. Many ancient secrets probably still lie unnoticed beneath the sands. Remember, one of the reasons why we know more about ancient Egypt than we do a lot of ancient civilizations is because the climate was perfect to preserve everything. It was so dry and hot. It preserved things really, really well. So we have more artifacts than we do from maybe some others. The sand did its best to cover one of the most famous monuments in the ancient world. That monument is the Great Sphinx that stands near the Great Pyramid. It probably would have been lost in the sand if people had not worked from time to time to keep the sand away from its base. The Sphinx has the head of a man and the body, legs, and paws of a lion. Its head and body are covered of solid rock, and its legs and paws are built of stone blocks. It is 240 feet long and 66 feet high. The Great Sphinx is a mystery. No one knows the mystery behind it. And then you'll go on and you will read page 114 and the left-hand column of 115. So for Monday, what you're going to do is you're going to read about the sun god Ra and about Obelisk, and then you'll read about the Valley of the Kings and King Tut, and then you'll stop. Don't do everyday life yet. That's tomorrow. So for Monday, I'd already planned on you doing 1 or 2 simple solutions lessons in class, and then assigning 1 for homework. So what you're going to do now is you're going to do simple solutions 55, 56, and then check it. Normally we would be making a quiz study guide and you would take the quiz on Tuesday. But we're doing open book quizzes now. So instead what you're going to do is you're going to do simple solutions 55, 56. You're going to read, like I said, page 114 and half of 115. Stop when you get to the comprehension checkup. Then you will take quiz 13, which will be on LMS. It'll just say quiz 13. You will take it on LMS as an LMS quiz. I can speak. And that's it for today. Tomorrow, you will do simple solutions 57 and 58, and you will check them, and then you will do an open book simple solutions quiz. And then tomorrow, you'll start working about everyday life in ancient Egypt, about some of the jobs that the people would have. Tomorrow, you'll read the other half of 115, 116 down, and let's see here, 116 and half of 117. Just kind of get you to a good stopping point. So you'll be doing reading 7.5 on Tuesday, and I'll have that posted. I'll have everything that I'm saying posted. Remember, the Egypt project is now due on the 7th, December the 7th. Keep your fingers crossed, cross your toes, whatever good luck thing you've got. We will be sitting back here in school turning in actual Egypt projects. If not, I will have it all set up so that you can turn it on electronically on December the 7th. I am hoping that's not the case, though. So I think that's it. For this week, I will be posting another video next Monday, so have an awesome Thanksgiving. Forgot to do this at the beginning, but all my other classes, I began my classes by saying, instead of focusing on how frustrated I could be about having to now go online and having to wear masks at my gym and all this other craziness, I'm instead going to start trying to post what I'm thankful for. And you can post something on the discussion wall. At the very beginning, when you first click on the LMS, I'll have the discussion wall. I'd love for you to post something you're thankful for. But as I was saying, I think I mentioned it to you all in class. One one thing that I am very thankful for is my father-in-law got one deer, and he won't use the meat, so that means we get the meat. And I found out my husband got a deer, so we're up to 2 deers worth of meat in my freezer. So that's my good news, things to be thankful for. So have a great Thanksgiving, whatever it may look like in the middle of all this craziness, and I will see you next week.